All right, let's talk about one of the most critical, most tense stretches of water on the entire planet, the Strait of Hormuz. What's so wild about this place is its massive paradox. It's an absolutely essential artery for the global economy, but at the same time, it feels like it's constantly one wrong move away from becoming a huge conflict zone. And that brings us to the big question, right? How can a tiny sliver of water, just 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, have the power to basically hold the entire world hostage? Well, the answer is this really unique and kind of scary mix of geography, economics, and military strategy. To really get a sense of the scale here, let's just start with one number: 20 million. That's how many barrels of oil squeeze through this single strait every single day. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. It's not even just about oil. We're talking about 1/5 of the whole world's oil consumption, plus nearly 1/5 of its liquefied natural gas. All of it has to pass through this one single choke point. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the world's energy jugular. So all that dependency makes this strait a lifeline, for sure. But man, is it a fragile one. You have to realize the entire global economy has pretty much placed this massive, high-stakes bet on the idea that this one narrow passage will always stay open and stable. And the stakes on that bet? They're astronomical. A disruption here isn't some minor inconvenience. Even a partial blockage, if it only lasts for a week, could kick off a global economic crisis. We're talking losses that would soar into the hundreds of billions of dollars. It's a direct, immediate, and potentially catastrophic threat. Okay, so why is it so incredibly vulnerable? To get that, we need to look at the physical landscape, because here, geography isn't just a pretty backdrop on a map. It's an active player. It's what dictates who has the power and how they can use it. And this right here illustrates this squeeze perfectly. You look at a map and you see the strait is about 33 kilometers wide, but the actual deep water shipping lane that those massive tankers have to use, it's only about 3 kilometers wide in each direction. Think about that. That tiny channel forces all of that global traffic into this super predictable and very easily targeted path. And because of that tight geography, total surveillance isn't just possible, it's pretty much a given. You've got warships constantly patrolling the surface. You have satellites watching from orbit. You've got radar systems on both coasts that are locked onto every single thing that moves. And then you throw in drones and coastal missile batteries on standby, and what you have is a hyper-militarized fishbowl where everything is ready to go in seconds. So, this unique environment has created a really unique military situation. It's what experts call an asymmetric battlefield, a place where the ancient, unchangeable terrain is what sets the rules for modern warfare. Now, before we get into the specifics, let's quickly break down that term, asymmetric warfare. Basically, it's when a less powerful military doesn't even try to match a stronger one head-on. That would be suicide. Instead, they use unconventional tactics, things like speed, surprise, and using the terrain to hit the bigger guy where he's weakest. And here's exactly how that chess match plays out in the strait. On one side, you've got the US Navy with its massive aircraft carriers, right? These things are built to dominate the open ocean. But in these cramped waters, Iran uses a totally different playbook. They counter with swarms of small, super-fast attack boats. Now, why is that so effective? Because the strait's tight geography completely neuters the US Navy's biggest advantage: distance. Your fancy, long-range radar has a tough time tracking tiny boats that can hide among the coastal clutter. And suddenly, your giant, powerful aircraft carrier becomes a big, slow-moving target in a bathtub. Iran's whole guerrilla strategy is designed to turn America's size into a massive liability. Now let's zoom in even further and look at the actual pieces of land in this game. The islands and the coastlines here aren't just dots on a map. They are powerful, strategic assets that project a ton of influence. So take Hormuz Island, for example. Strategically, it's a priceless chunk of real estate. It sits right on the most critical bend in the shipping lane, overlooking everything. But, and this is wild, it's also a place with this amazing culture, where its famous red soil, called jalak, is literally harvested and used as a spice in food. That contrast just perfectly captures the two identities of the strait. And it's a similar deal over on nearby Hengam Island. Militarily, it forms a perfect natural barrier, ideal for monitoring and pressuring passing ships. But behind that tough strategic exterior, there's this incredible natural beauty, like its Silver Beach, where tiny microorganisms in the water can make the whole shoreline glow with this otherworldly blue light at night. It's a flashpoint, yeah, but one with this hidden, fragile beauty. So the really crucial point here is that both sides of the strait are working together, in a way, to amplify the pressure. You've got Iran's coast, which is just lined with military assets, and then directly opposite you have Oman's Musandam Peninsula, which juts out like this rocky claw packed with elevated radar stations that squeeze that corridor even tighter. All of this brings us right back to the central problem of the Strait of Hormuz. It exists in this permanent state of fragile balance. It's always on a knife's edge, caught between its job as a global lifeline and its terrifying potential as a global flashpoint.
You know, this quote really nails it. In waters like this, terrain is no longer just landscape. It becomes advantage. It means the land itself is a weapon. The short distances mean you have way less time to react, way less room for error, and that pressure can go from 0 to 100 in an instant.
So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a shipping lane. It's not just a military zone. It's this incredibly rare and volatile pressure cooker where history, global strategy, and the raw power of nature are all compressed into one tiny, fragile spot on the map.
And that really leaves us with one final sobering question to think about. When the entire world depends so much on a single point that is this fragile and this contested, is a major crisis just a matter of time? Or somehow, can this delicate high-stakes balancing act actually continue to hold?